everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It's the end of the season. Some would say that's a good thing, but we have got our live Manchester United season player ratings. You can vote yourselves. Every single player that's played more than 5 games this season, mark them out of 10, 6 being the average, put a star next to your man of the match, so your player of the season, and we will get on with it. So, I mean, look, it's not in the circumstances I wanted it to be. I wanted us to have won the Europa League, but we didn't. We did come second in the league. Try not to let your disappointment at them, and Ollie will get a player rating as well. Ollie will get a rating for the season as well. Try not to let your disappointment of Wednesday cloud the issue too much. It's been a long season, a very long season, and we must therefore give those people their scores based on that. So, we'll start off with David De Gea then. David De Gea for me this season has been a strong 7. 6 is average. Look, penalty shootout, miss, whatever. I have said this time and time again. For me, David De Gea has had a really good season for United. Ignore the media, ignore the haters. He's had a really good season. Comparable to people like Alisson and Edison, he's made less mistakes than them. Like, he's had a really good season. The one game that comes to mind with De Gea for me was Everton. One game. And he's played, what? He's probably started over 30, hasn't he? Maybe even more than that. He's probably started nearly 40. So I think David De Gea's actually had a really good season. Roma is the best goalkeeping performance I think we've seen of the season across the league, let alone at Manchester United. So a strong 7 for David De Gea for me. I think apart from the final, I think he's had a good season. Henderson for me, I'm going to give him a 7, but it would be a 6.5. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think Dean Henderson's been terrible. I nearly gave him a 6, but I'm going to give him a 6.5. I think that David De Gea has been better, and maybe Henderson should get an average 6, but I just felt that maybe you could push David De Gea to 7.5 and have Henderson at 6.5. I think there's a point difference between the two. But I don't think Henderson's had a bad season either. Okay, Sheffield United, he made that mistake. He was terrible against Liverpool. But, you know, he has kept a lot of clean sheets this season. He's not a bad goalkeeper. So, yeah, I would say that Henderson is a 6.5. And I'd give De Gea a 7. But so there's your differences then. 6.6 for De Gea, 5.8 for Henderson. Wan-Bissaka over the season. You know what? Again, I'd give Wan-Bissaka a 6.5, 7, and we're very close on that one. So I'm quite pleased with that one. I think. Sorry, let me just. I just need to figure out where I need it to be. It needs to be about there, doesn't it? So yeah, Wan-Bissaka for me, 6.7 from you, 7 for me, 6.5, somewhere around that. I think at times he's been bad, at times he's been really good. He's struggled this season, Wan-Bissaka, definitely, but he's shown perseverance. He's shown mental strength because he has had some bad games, but he's had some really good games as well. It's not been his first season. It's been a bit of an up and down season, but I think he'll be better next season for it. And I still think Wan-Bissaka's got a lot of growth in him. I think one of the big problems Wan-Bissaka's had this season is the defensive coaching is shit. It's really bad. They're telling him to tuck in and then he's getting exposed on the back post. I think for a lot of the season, people thought Wan-Bissaka was tucking in himself. But I think we've seen from set pieces and corners, our defensive coaching is absolutely pub league standard. So Wan-Bissaka is probably suffering because of that. So yeah, good, happy with that. Brandon Williams, I mean, I've got to give him a 5. I just think, you know, nothing to do with him himself. Hasn't played enough games. Nowhere near enough games. I mean, I'm surprised Brandon Williams is even in this. He's not played enough games. He's wasted a season of his career. He should have gone on loan. I feel sorry for Brandon Williams, but you can't give him any better than a 5 because he's just not been used, and that's bad for him. Lindelof, I would give a 5 this season. 4.6 is a bit harsh, I think, but 5. He's been below average. You know, for a team that's finished second, people would say you're having a laugh. But look at the final. He cost us the final. Look at West Brom. There's been countless games this season where he's been bullied in the air. And as a Manchester United centre-back, there's a lot of goals we wouldn't have conceded if we'd have had a decent centre-back next to Maguire. And I think Lindelof's lack of pace, his lack of strength and his lack of aerial ability is a real issue. And, you know, the amount of accurate long ball passes he's made can't really cover up for that. So I give him a 5. Harry Maguire, for me, gets a 6.5. Ooh, high five! High five! Remember, you can vote on the link in the video description. Everyone can get involved in it. But that's the first accurate. I love it when we get it. I love it. I bloody love it when we get an accurate one. So we've got 6.5 for Harry Maguire, which is what I can't do 0.5, so I put a 7. So 6.5 for Harry Maguire, which I'm very, very happy with. And we've all gone with that. Yeah, I think Maguire started the season off badly. But from Christmas till the end of the season, I think he got a lot better. I'm very excited to see Maguire's third season because I think this is going to be the defining season. I do think people have over-egged the pudding a bit, saying, oh, we've really missed Maguire. I don't think Maguire's had a great season, but I think from Christmas he's got better. Next season we need to see consistent, real Harry Maguire, and I think we will see that if we bring in a top-class centre-back with him. Off topic, but I noticed the word latest is spelled wrong on the Instagram section of the moving bar at the bottom of the screen. Well done, Daniel Kirk. Thank you for the super chat. And you can get your questions in if you want to. We will be doing a Q&A at 8 o'clock. Smash a like on the video. Take away the penalties and what would you give Bruno, says Ash Little. Okay, I'll answer that. We're in a live season player ratings here. You can vote for yours. This is 6.5 is your score, 7 was mine. So it's voted for by you through the website. The link is in the video description. So we aggregate it. The most accurate Manchester United fan player ratings you'll get. Eric Bailly, 6. I nearly went with a 5.5, but look, think about a season with Eric Bailly. He was not very good at the end of the season, and I don't think he was great in the final. But think back to Everton, where we played Bailly and Maguire. Think back to Fulham, where we played Bailly and Maguire. There was a handful of games this season where we were like, get rid of Magaluf and play Bailly and Maguire. And I think that over a season, I would give Eric Bailly a 6. He's not played enough, so you could almost knock him down for that. And his end of the season wasn't great, but I would give him a steady 6 average for Eric Bailly. But I think he should have played more. Twansebi for me is a weird one because I actually think you think about the PSG game. You think about some of the games at the end of the season. There was one bad game against Istanbul, but I thought his man of the match at the end of the season against Wolves, wasn't it? He was man of the match against PSG, against Neymar and Mbappe on his side. So I actually find it weird. I think I'd give him a 6.5, really. The thing you could knock him down on is he's not played enough. I mean, a handful of games, but I actually think when he's played, he's been fantastic. He's just been underused. So yeah, I think Twansebi's had a decent season when he's played. He's just not been used enough. Luke Shaw, obviously, is going to be one of the big contenders for Player of the Year, which I won't mark mine until I've been through everybody to add a bit of suspense. But I think Luke Shaw this season, for me, forgetting the last 2 or 3 games where he just looked as if he'd run out of energy, actually thinking back about the vast majority of this season, he's been absolutely superb. I'd give him an 8.5. So I have to hit a 9 because I can't do it 8.5. So I'd give him an 8.5. 8.2, good to see. Good to see all you good people giving him an 8.2, around 8 as well. Good to see that. Good to see that. Fantastic. Well done. Thanks, everyone. I think that's absolutely spot on. So well done to Luke Shaw. He's been fantastic this season. Just finished a bit slow at the end, but what a season he's had. Tellez, 5.5 for me. Yeah, I mean, he's just not played enough. I'll give him the 6 because I can't give the half. But 5.5 for me. Defensively, I think he looks a bit shaky, but he's not played enough games. On the other hand, can you argue with him not playing enough games when Luke Shaw's been good as he has? It's just been a bit unfortunate for Tellez. It's interesting, the future of Tellez, really. I think he's a good player, but you wonder how long it's going to take for him. Is he ever... I think Tellez is a bit like Fred when we bought Fred in. He just needed a run of games. If Luke Shaw gets injured, Tellez will get the run of games. But this season, Luke Shaw's fitness has been superb. So Tellez has just had to be patient this year. So I'd give him an average 5.5, sort of 6. Whoa, Fred. What do we give to Fred? He's played a lot of football. I nearly said he's played a lot of football badly. Rashford has had 36 kilograms. Those are elite numbers, up there with the best in the world. Yes, he performed badly towards the end of the season, says Mount. Well, we're not talking about Rashford at the moment. I think for me, a Fred's a 5. Yeah, 5.1. Yeah. It's right. 5 is a 5. 5's right for Fred. That midfield has been painful to watch. I think about the Leeds game before Christmas. Fantastic. There's been 2 or 3. I like his tenacity, Fred. I don't like his passing. And I think he's been a bit of a liability at times. He's had good games, but I think mostly that midfield has been the most depressing thing about United this season. Which, you know what, is some achievement. I thought if you'd have asked me at the end of the season what would be the most depressing thing, I would have said the centre-back pairing. But the midfield has gone way past that. So yeah, it's got to be a 5 for this season. McTominay is difficult because I think he had a man of the match performance in the final, but I've got to look at it from a season point of view. And again, like Fred, there's been so many times I've been pulling my hair out, so it's got to be a 5 for me. I'm not surprised people have knocked him up to a 5.4, but it's a 5 for me because, look, 1 performance against Leeds, 1 performance against Watford, 1 performance in the final. They were 3 big performances from McTominay. I think he got man of match in all 3 of those. But there's been loads of games in the midfield where it's just not been good enough. So for me, it's a 5. It's a 5. Pogba will get low for Iola, but on Football Sense, after December, he gave us a title run with his goals. Whenever he played, he was class. Sad to see, says Ibrahim. I don't think that Pogba's going to get a low score. I don't think Pogba will get a low score. We'll see. Let's have a look. Matic. I'm really disappointed with Nemanja Matic. Last season, he was fantastic. This season, he disappeared. He is the best centre defensive midfielder we've got. You talk about McFred not being good enough. If we'd have had Matic for 20 games this season in the Premier League playing at midfield, and we could have put Pogba or Van der Beek next to him, it would have been a different United. I don't think we'd have been in a different position, but I think we would have played better. So I've been disappointed with Matic this season, and I think he's got to take the responsibility for that. So it's a 5 for me. You know, we needed him this season and he just didn't deliver. So Ollie's rating will be the most interesting to see, says Akil. We'll get to Ollie's season rating in a minute. So yeah, 5 for me for Matic, 5.3 for you. Donny, how do you mark Donny? Now, with Donny, you either mark him on your... you mark him on potential, or you mark him on the fact that he's not played. I'm going to mark him on the fact that he's not been played enough. Even though when he's played well, I think that I've got to give him a 5. I mean, everyone's giving him a 6, that's fine. But I've got to give him a 5, and it's not his fault. It's a bit like Brandon Williams getting a 5. I don't think Brandon Williams has had a bad season, per se. And I don't think Van der Beek's had a bad season. I just think he's been woefully underused. And that reflects on the coaches, doesn't it? So for me, I see Van der Beek against Wolves. And that was man of the match against a good Wolves midfield. And I think, well, we've not seen that hardly at all. So for me, Van der Beek hasn't played enough football, so it's a 5 for me. Not his fault, but it's got to be below average because he hasn't been used enough. Mata, again, easy to give him a 5. You know, again, hardly been used. I think we can all agree that he's past it, but he's not been used either. So, again, for Mata, it's a bit like Matic. Although I think Mata should have left last summer. I think Mata's been done at this level for a while in relation to the Premier League. I think he needs to go to a slower league, maybe Italy or Spain. But yeah, Mata's not offered as much this season, has he? Quality player. Absolute maestro, but not anymore for us. Which leads us on to Paul Pogba. So Paul Pogba for me, yeah, look, up to Christmas, it's fair to say that it was in and out. The Riola thing was really disappointing, and I'm sure Paul Pogba knew that was going to come out the night before the Leipzig game, and it was very disappointing, and we all felt very betrayed. But he obviously sat down with Ollie. He got professional. He obviously was like, look, deliver on the pitch, and we'll talk about your move in the summer. And I think in the main, Paul Pogba's been a big player for us. When he first came back in December, he played in the midfield and he was fantastic. Remember that goal against Fulham? And then we saw a different Paul Pogba from March, where we put him in the final 4 with Bruno, and Cavani benefited and Bruno benefited. So I think, you know, I think for Pogba, it's probably about right to give him... I'll probably give him a 7.5, 6.8. So I'm not giving him an 8, by the way. I can't give halves, so I always go above the half. So I would go 7.5. 6.8. Maybe I've been a bit generous then, but I would have given him a 7.5 for the season. Bruno Fernandes, look, I know Bruno is a bit divisive. I'll never understand why he's divisive. Bruno Fernandes is a massive player for Manchester United. And you look at Bruno when he came in January 2020 to now, what we've achieved in relation to points accumulation has been unbelievable. I think he's a massive, massive player for us, Bruno. And I think that, you know, I actually think it's to his credit that people call him Fernandes, because when he doesn't play well, and I do think that Bruno Fernandes would have won Player of the Year, England Player of the Year for the Premier League, ahead of Ruben Diaz if he hadn't been overplayed. I think up until Christmas, Bruno Fernandes was going to win Player of the Year. But since January, he's been tired, he's been overplayed, and I think this is a reflection on Ollie. You look at Maguire, you look at Bruno, you look at Rashford, relentless overplaying. And I think it cost Bruno Player of the Year in relation to the Premier League. And I think he did fall off a little bit, but he still managed to get goals, assists. And look, he's created more big chances than anybody in the league. So for me, Bruno Fernandes is easily an 8.5. Oh, yes! High five. High five. So 8.5 for Bruno. Is that the highest score so far? 8.2 for Luke Shaw. So Bruno's got the highest score so far from all of you lot. But yeah, I would have gone with an 8.5, which is why I went for a 9. So Bruno is a contender, as we know. Amad Diallo's an interesting one. He only came in January, didn't he? Only came in January. Again, a little bit like Van der Beek, a little bit like Brandon Williams, a little bit like Twan Sebi, underused by the manager. But when we've used him, think about the Wolves game, think about when he came on against AC Milan, we've seen glimpses of what is a really talented player. I'm disappointed about Amad Diallo because when he came into the club in January, remember I said he's tearing it up in training. He was. Numerous people knew this. He was absolutely amazing in training, and yet we still didn't want to use him. So I think he's been underused, but I think when we've seen him, he's been really good. But because he's been underused, I'd probably put him around a 6. 6.5 from you. I know we all love Ahmed, but I think he's been a bit underused. I hope to see more of him next season. Mason Greenwood's really interesting. I think that Mason Greenwood this season has been, the start to the season was not good. Lots of issues off the pitch, as we saw. Hold on a minute. Travis has just put a super chat in. He says, been really struggling with my mental health lately, Mark. I want to thank you all for the streams. It really helps take my mind off everything. What kind of things help you when you get really down, Travis? Well, sorry to hear that you've been struggling, Travis, and very, very positive to hear that you're feeling better and that the content and the community helps you. That's always great to hear. If I'm feeling down or a bit of anxiety, I'll just do things I enjoy doing. Maybe I'll watch a Netflix series, go for a walk, take your mind off the thing that's bothering you. That's the most important thing, I think. So, Mason Greenwood, very challenging start to the season. Was it Iceland with Foden? Or something went on there, didn't it? The press were after him. His form was a bit in and out. But I think, again, around Christmas time, we started to see Mason, really kick on. Great man management by Ollie in that. And towards the end of the season, I think he was arguably more impactful than Marcus Rashford. So, I think Greenwood's season has turned around. I would give Mason a 7, a strong 7, a bit like De Gea. 7.3, fair play. You've gone 7.3. But I'd give him a 7. I think it's been above average after a difficult start. Shola Shoretire, I'll give him a 6. He's barely played, has he? Exciting talent. Nice to see him part of the setup. But yeah, we've hardly seen him, have we? But fantastic in the youth setup, but we're not giving youth setup as part of the player ratings for the first team. But nice to see him. Hope to see more. Jesse Lingard. Look, what we're giving, Lingard's not played for United, so it's a low score. Based on his West Ham, it's difficult. If I'm giving him a West Ham, what do you want me to do? Let me know in the live comments. What do you want me to do about Jesse? Are we marking him on his United season or are we marking him on his West Ham season? If we're marking him on West Ham, I'll probably give him an 8, maybe even an 8.5. But as a Manchester United player, he hasn't played, so it's difficult. I think I'll give him an 8. I'm a 6.5 point. I think everyone else has gone on the Man United score, Man United player, haven't they? So yeah, I give him an 8 for West Ham. As a United player, probably a 5. He's just not been used, has he? It's a difficult one to include, Jesse, actually. Dan James, meet me. Dan James, everybody. Dan James. The name's Dan. Dan James. I'm going to give Dan James a 5. Yeah, I give him a 5. There was a period in, was it February, March time where he looked quite good, but the reason I'll give Dan James this, and I know Ricky's going to go mad and be like, I can't believe it, Fleck. He's easily a 10. The reason I'm going to give Dan James a 5 is because I remember talking about Dan James last summer, and he was getting a lot of stick from United fans, and I said first year at the club, big step up from the Championship from Swansea to United, started as a first teamer, which I thought was unfair, got overplayed and then faded out at the end of his first season. And I said this season's the big season for Dan James where we find out what he really is, because in his first season he started as a first teamer and then he drifted off. This season was about what is Dan James, and unfortunately I think he's shown he's not a first teamer, he's barely a bench player. He's not a top 4 player. So, but for 15 million, Dan James is always worth a look. I think Dan James, for his career, needs to accept he's not a Man United player. He's probably maybe an Everton player. Maybe he's a Southampton player. And that's where he needs to. Maybe he's a Leeds player. So I think Dan James needs to move on. But I'd give him a 5. A 5 for me from Dan James. And simply because this was the season where he needed to kick on and it didn't happen. Rashford, for me, this season is a difficult one. I cannot stand people who call him Trashford. I think it's unbelievable for a United fan to say that. He's scored a lot of goals this season. He's had a lot of assists. I couldn't give a shit about what he does off the pitch in relation to, people say, oh, he's focused on what's happening off the pitch. The stuff he's doing off the pitch is amazing. I do judge him on what he does on the pitch. And I think this season at times, the thing about Rashford is there's things he can do with the football that nobody can do. but then the simple pass, the final ball, the shots sometimes lets him down. If I was being critical of Rashford, I've always said this, his final thing lets him down, whether it's the final cross, the final shot, the final header, the final pass. Sometimes it doesn't. He can put a worldie cross in, he can play a worldie pass, he can play a worldie shot, he can play a worldie header. That's the thing. If I was saying to Rashford, you just need to work on that, mate. You know, you're so close to being one of the top 10 players in the world. You just need to work on that. The criticism is, I think, unfair. He is burnt into the ground. He has absolutely been burnt into the ground. He's played with numerous injuries and it shows. And I think it's so unfair to give him low marks in games when I know he's carrying injuries. So as a season, I think his goals and his assists stand up to scrutiny. And I think he easily could have took a month off and said, I don't want to play, and he didn't. So I think he deserves a 7.5. And I'm stunned that he got a 6.5. But, you know, I think people are still thinking about Rashford in the final. I'd give him a 7.5. I think he's worked really hard. He does need to work on his finishing, Julio. He does need to work on his final ball. But across the season, I think a 7.5 for Rashford. And I just think, again, he's another victim of the coaches who've overplayed him. Give it to Eddie Cavani. Pass him the ball and watch him score all the goals. So Cavani for me, I mean, look, you know, how can you give Cavani more than Rashford? Rashford scored more goals, been available for more games, and got more assists. And yet, this is what happens. You know, Rashford at the moment has finished the season badly, and Cavani has finished the season strongly. And it's hard for the human brain to be fair across a 7-month season, because you think about the last 7 weeks. That's what happens. So Cavani this season has missed a lot of the season. He missed the start of the season with his late signing and having to go into quarantine. He's had 2 or 3 injuries, obviously the suspension. But you think back to Southampton in December, we won that game because of him. You think back to, you know, I think we saw the best of Cavani when he was playing with Pogba and Bruno, because I think Rashford and Greenwood don't provide him with the service, but Bruno gets swamped. But when Bruno's got Pogba there, not everyone can swamp Bruno and Pogba, so it creates space for Cavani. And I think the end to the season, Cavani, when he got over his injury problems and had some consistency and settled, I think he's been fantastic. So I think, you know, I was very, very doubtful about this move, but I would give him a strong 7.5. And you've given him an 8, which is absolutely fine. Great first season for Cavani. Very excited to see him next season. I admit I got that wrong. I got it wrong about Cavani. I thought he was past it, and he wasn't. So fantastic. Well done to Cavani. Smash a like on the video, by the way. We're doing our live season player ratings, and if you want to do yours, click the link in the video description and get voting. Every player out of 10, 6 being the average, and put a star next to your player of the year. We're getting to the interesting bit now. We've got Solskjaer and player of the year to come. But first of all, Anthony Martial. Look, I was talking about Martial this morning on the morning show. I love Anthony Martial. What a fantastic talent he is. Player of the year this time last year when we did this. Not this year. It's been really disappointing. Really disappointing. And I think for Martial, I'd give him a 4. Even though I love Martial, I think it's been such a bad season. And I think that, you know, next season's a really big, if he's at the club, it's a really make or break year for Anthony. I want him to go away this summer, get fit, get focused, get motivated, and be ready to go, because it's been disappointing from Martial this season. I think the enduring thing for me was that miss against PSG. He should have scored it. We would have been comfortable in that game then, and we would have been into the Champions League knockout stage. So that miss sort of sums up his season. Lack of confidence in front of the goal. I think some people feel that when Martial gets an issue, his head drops. Remember, he had that great season with Van Gaal. Van Gaal got sacked. The number 9 shirt was given to Zlatan, which I thought was unfair, and he never got on with Mourinho after that. Player of the year with Ollie. Ollie brings in Cavani, and things start to go wrong. So, big season for Martial next season, but it's not been a good year this year. For Tony, Elanga, I mean, look, good end to the season for Elanga. I think it has been a good end to the season for him. Goal, two starts, but it's hard for 2 games across the whole season to give him any better than a 6. So I give him a 6. But again, a bit like Show Retire, nice to see him, nice. But nice to see another young player get involved. Not a lot of people would have known a lot about him. I think a lot of people don't realise he's Swedish. But he's done really, really well when he's come in. And maybe a loan move next for him. He looks good. I mean, you think about Elanga. I know he's only played a couple of games, but all the hype around Chong, Elanga's probably delivered more in his first 2 games than Chong did. So, excited to see what he can deliver. The manager, before we do player of the year. The manager then. I'm seeing a lot of people saying 10s and 5s. Look, I think in relation to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this season, we have finished second in the league, which I never personally... And remember, this is my vote, and we'll see what you gave, your aggregated score. Ollie, for me this season, if you'd say we'd finish second and get to Europa League final, I'd have said, whoa, second? That's really good. But why the fuck are we in the Europa League final? We're starting off in the Champions League. So, I think if we'd been offered that at the start of the season, you would have been, I take second, but bloody hell, how are we in the Europa League? What went wrong in the Champions League? So it's been mixed. I think it's been a very mixed season. And I look across the season and I think back to October when that story came out that United were talking to Pochettino. We just lost to Istanbul. We had that Everton game at lunchtime and Ollie went mad afterwards. And ever since then, we went on a great run. I think about January when we are top of the league. Say we are top of the league. And I was like, bloody hell. And then, we've maintained a run. We've done very well in the league. We've been unbeaten in a way all season. So there's been a lot of good from Ollie. The bad is what happened in the Europa League final. The bad is that the style of play is a little bit limited at times. The bad is that we play with a back 6. The bad is Maguire and Lindelof. The bad is that midfield is like a bagel. It's wide open. So there's been good and bad, and I think some people would want to give him a 5. Some people would want to give him a 7. Ollie not winning the Europa League final equals 4. Needs to go. Sorry, says Jay Ling's fan. For me, Ollie would, if he'd have got a Europa League, I think I would have given him a 7.5. With not winning the Europa League, he said it himself. It defines the season. It is a season definer. And ultimately, everything that's wrong with Solskjaer was defined in that 90 minutes. Poor coaching. Defensive coaching is abysmal. Can't deal with a team that sits back. Attacking coaching abysmal. Doesn't make subs in the game. That is on the manager. Also, crap in the first half, better in the second half. We're only playing for half a game. Those 4 things are sort of symbolic of our season. We talk about these great results against Southampton when we're 2-0 down and then we win 3-2. But that's only because we played brilliant in the second half and we're terrible in the first. West Ham, there's been loads of them. So I think Ollie gets a 6 for me. And I'm not surprised that people have gone with a 5.7 because I think it's been a season that could have been 7 or 7.5. But ultimately, we finished the season on a flat note. And I think also, for everybody who says, well, you've got to give him a 7 because we came second in the league, let's not forget, Liverpool had no defence for half a season and they're still only 5 points behind us. Chelsea were managed by Lampard for more than half a season and they still got quite close to us. So there are circumstances there. But the flip side of positivity is that Solskjaer has done fantastically well with a summer where he didn't get backed. Van der Beek he clearly didn't want. He didn't get Sancho. He didn't get a centre-back. And we've still finished second behind everybody, ahead of everyone else apart from Man City. So I think you could justify a 7. I think for me, I'm probably ending the season disappointed. So I'll give him an average 6 because I think the final exposed everything that's wrong with the coaching network at the moment. And I think next season is a make or break, sink or swim season. And I hope he does well. As for my player of the year, for me, I was always going to go with Bruno, and it'd be interesting to see what you get. It's Bruno or Luke Shaw for me, and I think for me, I go with Bruno because I think if you take Luke Shaw out that team, you've got Alex Telles, and I don't think he could do as well, but I don't think it would massively impact on the team. But I think if you took Bruno out that team, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are. So that's where I'm close between Luke Shaw and Bruno, but I've just gone with Bruno because I think if you take Bruno out that team this season, we're probably down with Spurs. Whereas I think if you took Luke Shaw out, I still think we could get top 4 with Telles. Be very different with Telles, but I still think we would have scraped top 4. So Bruno for me is my player of the year. Let's see who yours was, and I can give you the overall votes as well. So Bruno wins it with 63%. I got it. Everybody. I got it. So 63% of the vote for Bruno Fernandes. Luke Shaw got 32% of the vote. And then it's shared out with everybody else. So 2 overwhelming winners there. 63% of the vote for Bruno and then 32% for Luke Shaw. So overwhelmingly people went with Luke Shaw and Bruno. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes for me, definitely, as I said. And look, fantastic. I really enjoyed that. We've whizzed through it, and we've given everybody, I think, the right scores. End of the season. Look, I'm not doing an end of the season show. This is an end of the season player rating show. My feeling on this, let me just read these super chats. Ollie deserves a 5. His decision making is so poor. He's not going to get us back to the top. His mentality is weak. This is the man that said trophies are for egos. It's time to get someone like Zidane or a proven manager in here, says Victor. And DK says, if you said after the Champions League draw with Leipzig and PSG that we'll achieve Europa League final and second place, would have taken that. But the same it happened is really hurtful. Thought we would get 5th. 7, says DK. So he's given Ollie a 7 there, and two contrasting opinions. But my overall season thoughts, I want to park this season, by the way. I think when you end the season like we did, I don't look on that. I do wonder about the mental state of people who buy Manchester United season reviews. Remember, like, I used to get one every Christmas. From my family, the United season review DVD. But that's because we used to win a Premier League or a Champions League. I haven't had one in about 10, I don't think I've had one in 10 years. And who buys Man United season review DVDs now? Like, who does actually buy them? Like, you must be the same people who watch Mrs. Brown Boys. But the reality, which is very popular, so maybe they sell DVDs as well. But overall, I will not look on this season with any real fondness now. I think, you move towards the next season. I'm already hungry for next season to start. I think top 4 was something I didn't predict. So fair play to Ollie for that. But to not win the Europa League is a real disappointment. The Europa League is the Poundland Champions League. Villarreal are not even a top 4 Spanish side, and to lose to them is embarrassing. So, we're sort of... It's been a weird old season. It's been a weird old season with no fans in the ground. It's been a weird old season playing 3 games a week, every bloody game with no one in the ground. I'm glad to close the chapter on this season, and I'm excited to see next season because I think it's sink or swim for a lot of reasons. But also, the summer's a sink or swim as well. I'll be back at 8 o'clock. We've got the 8 o'clock show. We're doing a bit of a Q&A at 8 o'clock as well. So we'll be catching up on the latest Man United news from the day. Bit of a Q&A as well. 8 o'clock show. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks for everyone who tuned in live. Really enjoyed that. Season overall, 6. Yeah, same as Ollie, 6 for me. Thanks for watching. Check out the link in the video description if you want to do your player ratings, because those scores will change the more people vote because it's aggregated. I'll speak to you in a bit.